Mike, where were you? Why didn't you come to my wedding rehearsal? Brenda's voice rang out with a mixture of frustration and confusion as she stepped into the lounge. Mom's been trying to reach you since 6. She's furious. Is that so? Where is she now? I asked calmly, continuing to work with my hands. She just left to drop my biological father off at his motel. She replied quickly, too quickly. I noticed how her eyes darted away the moment the words left her mouth. I didn't respond. Instead, I kept removing my certificate of commendation from the wall, wrapping it carefully in bubble wrap. Brenda, now standing in the doorway in her rehearsal dress, tilted her head. What are you doing? Mom just cleaned those picture frames a few weeks ago. I didn't answer her. I carried the wrapped certificate into the kitchen and gently set it inside one of the half-filled boxes that lined the floor. She followed, the skirt of her dress rustling softly as she moved, twirling slightly in that absent-minded way that momentarily transported me back to the countless recitals and school events I'd attended through the years. But now, she wasn't dancing for her dad. Not for me, anyway. When she rushed back to the lounge, I followed with the packed box. I noticed how her expression shifted into something wordless, like a fish gasping for air. It finally hit her. Every item in the room that belonged solely to me was gone. If she were to check the closet or the tool cabinet in the garage, she'd find them equally empty. As I stepped outside and loaded the box into the back seat of my car, I felt her presence behind me. You're leaving? She whispered, stunned, like the thought had never even occurred to her. Now you see it, I replied flatly. Been moving out for 4 days. Neither you nor your mother noticed. Says a lot, doesn't it? I'm sorry, Mike. The wedding has been so overwhelming. But you're still coming, right? No, I thought to myself. I assumed skipping the rehearsal would have made that clear. But she wasn't done. But why? Dad? She added. The word dad hit different, as if it had returned from the dead. Oh, so I'm dad again, huh? I asked, pausing. Didn't I stop being that 3 weeks ago? She folded her arms, rubbing them as the evening chill caught up with her. Old instincts kicked in. Come inside, it's cold, I said softly. You can call your mother, but I doubt she'll answer. Her phone's probably off. Back in the lounge, I took a seat on the couch while she sank into the oversized armchair like a child retreating into comfort. Her phone was already to her ear, leaving a message, urgently asking her mother to call her back. I waited in silence, watching the gears turn in her mind. Why aren't you coming to my wedding? She finally asked. You really don't know? I responded. She shook her head. I could tell. She had absolutely no clue. That selfish tunnel vision brides sometimes get, it had taken over completely. It broke my heart more than I wanted to admit. I sighed and sat up straighter. Brenda, I've loved you since you were 2 years old. You had sticky fingers and a giggle that echoed through the house. I raised you like my own, with no hesitation. I still love you. Maybe always will, depending on what happens next. She listened in silence. I reached into my pocket, touching the outline of the letter I'd written for her and her mother, just in case. When I met your mom, your father had just left you both. You know the story. He drank. He cheated. And when your mom gave him an ultimatum, he took the easy way out. He walked out. Brenda didn't respond. She just stared. She lost the apartment not long after. Then she met me. We fell in love, got married, and moved into this house with my 2 sons, Timothy and Alistair. I didn't just marry your mom. I took on a whole family. And I did it gladly. I loved her. I loved all of you. I know, she whispered. I thought I was doing a good job, until about a month ago, I added, unable to hide the crack in my voice. You were the best father, she said, her voice now as fragile as her expression. My friends couldn't believe you weren't my biological dad. She touched her lips like the realization was just now setting in. I really did mean it when I asked you to walk me down the aisle, I said. I was proud, honored. But then, I didn't need to finish. She turned her face away, lips trembling. You never officially uninvited me, I continued. But your biological dad came back, and now I'm out. Out of the conversations. Out of the plans. Just gone. You two have been so wrapped up in William this, William that. I may as well have been invisible. She tried to interject, but I kept going. Did you know your mom didn't even realize I never rented the suit she asked me to wear? That's how absent I became to her. To both of you. Brenda looked like she'd been hit by a truck. A real apology was forming behind her lips, but what came out instead was justification. I mean, you've met my real dad, right? He's incredible. The car, the gifts, the charm, it's been magical. He swept us all up, and she trailed off. and I let the silence speak for her. He swept you off your feet. I asked quietly. She nodded. And you think that makes it okay to erase me? I asked. To hand over the most important moment of your life to the same man who once walked away from you without a second thought. Brenda flinched. Don't be bitter, Mike. I mean, Dad. You forgot to tell me. That part's on you, I said. But you let me be replaced. And I can't overlook that. Her lips parted to respond again, but I raised a hand. Doesn't matter. Don't explain. You made your choice. And now I'm making mine. I stood and pulled her into a final embrace. It took everything not to fall apart in her arms. I loved you, I whispered. And then I walked out. As I stepped outside, I gave her one last glance. The expression on Brenda's face was etched with devastation. Her shoulders quivered, tears streaking down her cheeks. She gasped for breath, overwhelmed and drowning in the weight of everything I had just told her. I saw her fumble for her phone again, no doubt praying her mother had turned hers back on. Hoping that, somehow, she could reach her. Hoping that this wasn't real, that this wasn't how it ended. Maybe she thought Melinda could fix things. Maybe she believed there was still time to make me stay. But she had no idea how long I had already been pleading with her mother, how many times I had silently begged for her to stop drifting further away from me. But Melinda had fallen, completely and willingly, for a man with a slick tongue and a polished smile. I got in the car, closed the door, and let out a breath I'd been holding in for weeks. Whether or not Melinda had physically cheated, the emotional betrayal was loud and clear. That morning had confirmed it. The truth is, I hadn't originally planned to leave permanently. At first, I just wanted to make a statement, a temporary separation to show how badly their actions had hurt me. But the discovery I made that morning changed everything. As I was clearing out my things, I found a box of condoms in Melinda's purse. Still sealed, still unused, but undeniably purchased with intention. We hadn't used protection in decades, not since before my vasectomy. And Brenda was on birth control, so they weren't hers. That left one horrifying conclusion. Even if it hadn't happened yet, it was going to. Melinda hadn't slipped up in the moment. She was planning it. Planning to be unfaithful to a man who had stood beside her for 20 years. That broke me in a way I can't even put into words. So I accepted the reality. This wasn't just a warning sign, it was the end. Later that evening, a part of me still needed closure. I couldn't let it go without facing it head on. I drove around for a while, trying to find the motel where William was staying. I had this desperate urge to see it with my own eyes, to witness the betrayal in real time and let it finally destroy the last threads of hope in me. But I never found him, so I shifted to plan B. After leaving Brenda, I drove back near the house and parked a block away with my headlights off. Less than 60 seconds later, I saw Brenda's car tearing down the street like she was trying to escape her own thoughts. She didn't notice me at all. I followed. She pulled into a motel and ran into a specific room with the kind of urgency that screamed regret. I waited a beat before approaching. My old SLR camera with a zoom lens was on the passenger seat. Call it morbid curiosity or emotional self-defense. I just needed proof. From behind a bush, I watched. I heard Brenda's voice before I saw anything. She was yelling, but it was Melinda who opened the door. She wore a robe, hastily thrown over disheveled hair and guilt. William stood behind her in boxers. But it wasn't their state of undress that struck me. It was Melinda's expression. Panic. Pure, naked panic. The kind of fear I had spent 2 decades protecting her from. Seeing that look crushed me and freed me all at once. I tossed the camera into the seat and walked away. Phone off. Heart closing. I didn't need photos. I didn't need to confront them. That chapter was over. I drove aimlessly for a while, my mind a blur of thoughts and emotions. I didn't feel anger. Not anymore. Just a deep, hollow resignation. I had given everything to that family. My heart, my time, my identity. And it had been traded away like a forgotten relic. Everything I learned about what happened next came secondhand. The wedding, believe it or not, still went ahead, but not at 10 a.m. as scheduled. It was pushed back by 8 hours. Apparently, nobody could find the bride's mother. Melinda had spent the night searching for me and eventually passed out somewhere in her car, too exhausted to keep going. Brenda was inconsolable. The biological father? Nowhere to be found. Just like I said he would be. William had gotten what he came for, attention, admiration, a temporary pedestal, and then vanished. No goodbye, no explanation. Just gone. He'd done it before, and he did it again. I tried to understand his motives. Maybe he wanted a trophy moment, walking a daughter he never raised down the aisle. Or maybe he was just chasing some fantasy about reclaiming lost time. Maybe Melinda made him feel young again, powerful again. Or maybe he just enjoyed the thrill of ruining something sacred. Whatever it was, it didn't matter anymore. Rumor had it, he had never been able to have kids with his second wife. Maybe that's why he latched onto Brenda. But like clockwork, as soon as things got messy, he did what he always did, ran. I later heard that he paid dearly for his little adventure. His wife found out, likely from the 2 incriminating photos someone emailed her, and she didn't waste time. The prenup they had? Ironclad. She left him, reclaimed her father's business, and cut him out of everything. Then came the part I'm still unsure about. According to whispers, someone found William in an alley a week later, badly beaten, ribs cracked, one eye swollen shut, and, reportedly, his manhood permanently damaged. No one could prove who was responsible, but everyone had their theories. His former father-in-law, they said, had always hated him. By the time Brenda finally walked down the aisle, she did it alone. The church window had long passed, but the vicar was kind enough to reschedule for the evening. And Melinda? She eventually showed up, but not in the dress she had planned. That one had mysteriously come apart at the seams, every stitch unraveling. Fitting, I suppose, considering how her marriage had come undone in much the same way. I didn't answer any of their calls. I didn't check my voicemail for days. But when I finally did, it was filled with messages from both Brenda and Melinda. Apologies. Please. Desperate rambling attempts to rewind time. But I was already too far gone. Melinda left a long, breathless voicemail. She claimed that after dropping William at the motel, she had gone inside, but insisted they had only talked. According to her, the condoms in her purse were meant as some kind of joke for the reception. She said it with the same kind of conviction she used when lying about drinking the last glass of wine or forgetting our anniversary one year. But I had already seen the pictures. The first was of her, standing in the motel doorway, completely exposed. The second was a close-up of the same image. Let's just say it left little room for interpretation. I didn't scream. I didn't retaliate. I simply replied to her message with a short text. No thanks. Please don't contact me again. For the sake of the few good memories we have left. To her credit, she respected that, for the most part. Every few months, I get a half-hearted "hope you're doing well" or a tagless social media post about lessons learned. But it all floats past me like static. From family whispers, I've learned she hasn't dated anyone seriously since the split. Some say she's still struggling to accept it's really over. Maybe she expected me to come crawling back. Maybe she didn't think I had it in me to walk away for good. The divorce itself was quick. I offered her the bare minimum. She signed without protest. I think even she knew it was more than she deserved. I stayed with my younger son, Alistair, for a while. Parked my car in his garage. Kept a low profile. Both my boys, Timothy and Alistair, refused to take any calls from their former stepmother. They didn't need explanations. They saw the fallout. They felt the shift in me. It was Brenda's new husband who eventually found me. We met in a small diner on the edge of town. He was nervous but respectful. He told me he liked me and had always appreciated how I treated Brenda. He also told me that Brenda had tried, really tried, to convince her mother not to fall back into William's orbit. But Melinda wouldn't listen. William had that effect on people. He made you forget who you were, then left you with nothing. I believed him. We still talk now and then. The relationship between Brenda and her mother, though, fractured. Whether that's because Brenda blames her for the fallout, or because her new husband doesn't want Melinda around, it's hard to say. But something broke between them that day. Something real. As for forgiveness, I'm not there yet. My sons are. They've already moved on. I might get there eventually. But wounds like that take time. Deep time. If my heart hadn't already gone numb, maybe the image of Brenda walking down the aisle by herself would have shattered me. Her mother, seated in the front row, makeup smudged from tears, watching helplessly, maybe even regretfully. But I didn't feel pain anymore. I felt distance. The kind that turns old love into cold memory. I was told there were a couple of empty seats at the front. The groom couldn't recall whether it was one or two. That detail doesn't matter anymore. What stayed with me wasn't the ceremony or the empty chair. It was the aftermath. Brenda's husband had a lot of questions. He wanted answers about Melinda, about the affair, the lies, the fallout. Brenda answered them as best she could. She was still putting the pieces together herself. Eventually, he came to an interesting conclusion. Having a wife who had witnessed the destruction of infidelity firsthand might actually be a blessing in disguise. He hoped it would solidify their foundation, serve as a living reminder of what betrayal costs. He poured himself into making the wedding happen, even with the delay, even with the chaos. And he succeeded, mostly. But word travels fast. Faster than truth, sometimes. By the time the reception started, Melinda had become a ghost in her own family. She only lasted about 30 minutes before the pressure broke her. Guests from both sides whispered. Some didn't bother to whisper at all. She sat alone, every stare a silent accusation. And then she left. Even now, I sometimes wonder what she regrets more, losing me or ruining her daughter's wedding day. Either way, the damage was done. I spent months in emotional limbo after that. Not quite grieving, not quite healing. I walked through my days as though nothing mattered. I couldn't look at another woman without flinching. Couldn't imagine trusting anyone again. And then, without warning, everything changed. Her name was Molly. Molly wasn't someone I had planned to meet. In fact, I wasn't planning anything at all. But life has a strange way of giving you what you need just after you've stopped looking. She was the widow of a friend of my son Alistair. We met by chance at a local bar nearly a year after the split. I wasn't expecting anything beyond a polite chat. But something clicked. Instantly, the walls I'd spent months building began to crumble without resistance. Her warmth didn't force its way in. It simply existed, calmly and steadily, until I couldn't imagine my life without it. I had once rolled my eyes at the term soulmate. It had always sounded like something out of a rom-com. But Molly? She changed that. She made me believe in second chances. In peace. In quiet joy. Within 4 weeks, I moved into her place. And for the first time in a long, long time, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Her kids welcomed me without hesitation. Her home felt like one, almost immediately. Just today, her daughter asked me to walk her down the aisle. I didn't cry, but only because I was smiling too hard. There's a photo from that moment. I shared it online, not thinking much of it. Just a proud snapshot of a new beginning. 2 days later, a comment appeared under it, from Melinda. "They're lucky," she wrote. That was all. I didn't respond. I didn't feel the need to. That part of my life is closed. Whatever pain I endured, it led me here. And for that, I'm strangely grateful. To everyone listening this, thank you for staying with me through this journey. If this story resonated with you, please leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true stories like this one. You never know, your next chapter might begin the moment you let the last one go.